Hello, everybody. I'm going to be presenting Get Accepted to Wharton Business School this evening. Just a bit about me before we get started. My name is Linda Abraham. I'm the founder and CEO of Accepted. I've been an MBA admissions consultant since 1994. I've been quoted in Poets and Quants, the Wall Street Journal, U.S. News, Business Week, CBS News, and others regarding MBA admissions. I'm the co-founder and first president of the Association of International Graduate Admissions Consultants and the co-author of the book MBA Admissions for Smarties. Most importantly, for today's webinar, I'm looking forward to sharing my 20 plus years of MBA admissions experience with you. Although I turned down Wharton for the man I love, many of you would turn down a lot to go to Wharton, and with good reason. Wharton offers an amazing breadth of educational options and career opportunities. It really is an embarrassment of riches that is Wharton. You have a tremendous breadth in its program. And I'm not sure if this is good or bad, but Wharton's average GMAT is 732. That's for the class that is entering now, the graduating class of 2020, up a tad from the 730 of last year and matching Wharton's all-time high, which was 732 in 2015. Now, some say Wharton is just about Wall Street. I say that person knows nothing about Wharton. Wharton has a dizzying array of options and programs. Wharton Lauder, the 3-year MBA JD, Customer Analytics, Innovation Entrepreneurship, Healthcare Management, Real Estate, Global Programs, Leadership Development, the list goes on and on. So yes, Wharton is a finance powerhouse, but it is not only a finance powerhouse. It has a flexible curriculum that prepares its graduates for a broad spectrum of careers. It is a premier program with an impressive alumni network and placement record. And unlike some of its competitors who have acceptance rates of under 15%, Wharton has a 19.2% acceptance rate per U.S. News, and that was for the class that entered in 2017. Again, this year's class, the stats I haven't seen yet. And that slightly increased percentage acceptance rate represents opportunity for qualified applicants. It doesn't make it an easy-to-get-in program by any means, but again, there is opportunity in that slightly increased acceptance rate. Now, the rest of the webinar will discuss how you can take advantage of the opportunity presented both in Wharton and by that slightly higher acceptance rate. So the plan for the next 50 minutes or so is to go through the 4 key strategy steps and apply them to Wharton. You can use the strategy framework on other top programs too. And in the second part of the webinar, I'm going to turn much more to tactics given Wharton's 2018-19 application. I'm also, in the course of the webinar, going to issue several warnings and caveats of things you don't want to do and rabbit holes you don't want to go down. The first one is that you are not going to get into Wharton by attempting to wave a magic wand or put on some makeup or spin. That's not going to do it. What you need to do is submit something that's compelling and substantive. And substance, in my mind, means competitive qualifications and an effective presentation of those qualifications. In other words, you need to demonstrate fit. Your overriding aim is to show that you belong at Huntsman Hall, which is Wharton. Now let's dive into the nitty-gritty, and I'd like to hear from you before I give you my thoughts. How do you intend to show that you belong at Wharton? In the question window, please. I'm sure that you've given it thought even before getting here. So let's hear, how are you going to show that you belong at Wharton? Leadership quality, that's definitely part of it. Anybody else? Through work and academic experience, very good. That's part of it. Anybody else have any thoughts on this? Preparedness, can you elaborate on what that means? I realize that on some level this question is a little unfair because I'm going to spend the next 50 minutes telling you what I think you need to do, and I'm asking you to put it in essence in a tweet. But I'm sure you've given this some thought. So anybody else want to share? If not, I'll move on. Knowing what the school has to offer and showing how well you use it. Exactly, you can use it. Very good. Big part of it. Excel at what we do. Great, Ayush. GMAT, international work experience, and teamwork, I assume is what you mean there. Good. It's all part of it. Very good, Will. By the way, if I mispronounce somebody's name, please forgive me. I mean no insult. Showcase what I can bring to the school. Excellent. That's definitely part of it. Okay, very good. Thank you. Definitely, you've all hit on some element that is important. But one of the things, my goal for today's webinar is to show you that you need all 4 parts of the framework I'm about to give you. The first part of it is very simple. Demonstrate that you can handle the academics. What Wharton's admissions committee has called academic preparedness. The easiest way is through your undergrad transcript and test scores. And ideally, in an ideal world, you'll be at or above the averages for accepted students for both grades and test scores. If not, how can you convince Wharton to accept you with, let's start with below average grades? Well, first of all, realize that Wharton's average for matriculating students is 3.6, and averages are what they are because people are admitted with numbers below average as well as numbers above the average. However, be realistic. The farther away you are below average, and if both your grades and test scores are below average, the less likely it is that you can effectively demonstrate you can do the work, or that you can convince the Wharton Admissions Committee that you can excel and thrive there. So what do you do if, let's say, you have problematic grades from undergraduate education? Well, I did a whole podcast on this, Accepted.com 137, and I would suggest that you listen to it. I actually give very concrete steps for those who have this issue. In addition, what if your quant skills are weak? You're the proverbial poet, but your grades are good? Consider something like MBAmath.com, quant courses at your local college. That could be statistics for business, calculus if you have the prereqs, economics, accounting 1. And Wharton itself says in one of its admissions FAQs, calculus and statistics are good foundation courses for an MBA. So if you don't have those courses, I take it as a strong hint to get them. Yes, a high test score can mitigate low grades. The trouble is that the definition of high at a school like Wharton is really high. For the top 10, including Wharton, you want to be at the 80th percentile in both quant and verbal, whether your grades are good or below average. Now again, that's not a line in the sand. It's an ideal. It's not like you're out if you get 79th percentile or anything like that. But it is something worth aiming for. If you're not sure whether you should retake your GMAT, take a look at these 2 resources. And again, we'll be sending out the URLs. The short is a blog post with a short video. The first one is a blog post with a short video. And the second one is a whole webinar I did on the question of when should somebody retake and when I don't think it makes sense to do so. All right, so that's the first part of the framework. Somehow, some way, you need to, and the GRE also, I want to give you that. Wharton just posted its average GRE scores. The total was 325. The average for verbal was 163 for matriculated students and 162 for the quant. In terms of the first part of the framework, the bottom line here is that somehow, some way, you need to show you can do the work effectively and not struggle with either basic math or communications. The second part of the framework, have a clear, realistic reason for wanting a Wharton MBA. Professional direction is clearly something that the Wharton Admissions Committee is looking for in its application. They said they're looking for it when I met them at AGAC, and their application also indicates they're looking for it because one of the essay questions is, what do you want to gain professionally from the Wharton MBA? Now, a classic MBA goals question is function, what do you want to do, and what industry do you want to do it? Sometimes location can play a role also. But that's the classic formula for a good, solid, specific MBA goal. We'll go into Wharton's essay question a little bit more. But again, getting to what the admissions committee is looking for here, yes, they're looking for ambition. They're looking for you to have wonderful impact in the future. But they are also looking for realism and the feasibility of your goals. The key point here is that your application as a whole must allow the admissions committee to see how your previous education and experience, when combined with the Wharton MBA, will allow you to achieve what you want to achieve. Now, why do you think, in the question window, please, why do you think they care? Why don't they just take your tuition and let you go through the 2 years? Why is it important that you have a goal that is clear and specific and attainable? In the question window, please. Why do you think they care? Good employment outcomes boost rankings and result in satisfied alumni. Very good, Adam, 100%. To select the best player, that's part of it. For placement and Wharton's reputation, good. They want to see how your education will translate into real-world experience. I'm not sure that's quite what I'm driving at here. To develop and maintain the Wharton brand and alumni network, that's all part of it. They want to make sure they can help you succeed. Bottom line. We started our book with, if you don't know where you're going, you might wind up someplace else. In Wharton's words, our hope is to give applicants ample space to more fully explain their aspirations, goals, and how Wharton fits into those. This is from Mary Ellen Riley, the Deputy Vice Dean of MBA Admissions, Financial Aid, and Career Management at Wharton. They want to know that they fit into your plans appropriately and that they can help you succeed. So that's the second part of the framework. Have a goal that requires a Wharton MBA and know how you intend to use those 2 years to prepare you to achieve those goals, to better prepare you to lay a foundation for the achievement of those goals. The third part of the framework. Show you share Wharton's values and have the character it seeks. Now, key values at Wharton: innovation, data, or rigor, I should say, analytical rigor, community, and leadership. There's a few others I'm going to mention too, but these 4 are a good start. Wharton was one of the first schools to have a dean of innovation. And all that innovation, combined with Wharton's incredible commitment to assisting its students in making the most of their Wharton MBA experience, has led to it having one of the most flexible and rich curricula among top MBA programs. And it also leads to a certain commitment to relevancy for you. If you have specific goals, again, that was the second part, you will have a very good, or should have a very good idea of the education you need, the career support you need, the extracurricular experiences that will assist you in achieving those goals. So how are you going to take advantage of the flexibility in Wharton's curriculum, which includes the ability to waive out of classes if you already had them? The school has 18 majors and 10% of its students design their own. It offers 200 plus electives in 10 departments, plus the option to take up to 4 classes in other schools at the University of Pennsylvania. And 5.5 out of 9 credits in the core are flexible. So you can really design a curriculum that's tailor-made to what you need to realize your goals, as long as you have them. If you don't have them, you flounder. And of course, Wharton also has an outstanding entrepreneurship program. Now let's get to the data part. Wharton is committed to analytical rigor and use of data. And you interact with anybody at Wharton, and they're going to want you, alumni, current students, staff, they're going to want you to back up any claims you make with data. It animates all discussion at Wharton. So for you as an applicant, what does this imply? It implies you're going to want to highlight whenever you have used analytics, analysis, or data and resulting insight to solve a problem, improve a process, somehow help your team, community, employer do better. You're going to want to highlight that in your resume. Perhaps you'll ask a recommender to mention it. Now, Wharton is also very global in its student body, its alumni network, and educational opportunities. It has 95,000 alumni in 153 countries, organized into 79 alumni clubs on 6 continents. International educational opportunities at Wharton can be short and intensive, or extensive and immersive. There is, as you see on the screen, the dual degree interdisciplinary programs like the MBA, MA at Wharton Lauder and Wharton combined program with the School of Advanced International Studies at Johns Hopkins, or the MBA, MPA ID with Harvard Kennedy School. Wharton also has international exchange programs at 17 partner schools in 15 countries, and co-curricular opportunities like conferences, international volunteer programs, global career tracks. Now, and global career tracks. So for you as an applicant, again, what does this imply? Well, if you want an international element in your future career, you should probably highlight it. That's one part of it. But also, do you have international work experience, extensive personal travel, a multicultural background or experience? Again, think of breadth. They want people who have a breadth of experience because they're offering you tremendous breadth of experience. And they want people who can deal with multiple stimuli coming from multiple arenas and can choose and focus, prioritize. The other thing that's really important at Wharton is community. Wharton is very proud of a student-led culture, what they used to call a culture of engagement. Regardless of what they call it, this is not a sit-back, spoon-fed student body. It requires participation. At the AGAC conference, I was struck by the administration's attempts to respond to student input, to customize the student experience, and to help the students make the most of the myriad opportunities at Wharton. So again, for you as an applicant, what does this imply? Think about times when you engage with your community. When did you initiate and innovate? And actually, the third point in the admissions committee presentation triad was community. What can you add to Wharton's community? And you'll see the essay, this is very relevant to one of the essay questions. If you have gotten awards, realize that they're not interested in the long laundry list of irrelevant ones that are kind of given out like gold stars, but a shorter list of meaningful ones and perhaps a little bit of information of what you did to merit that award. They're much more about depth of experience than quantity. Now let's go on to innovative leadership training. Wharton has a very well-developed, well-structured, innovative leadership training program. It's a comprehensive formal program that begins with preterm. It's the first required course in core and continues throughout your 2 years at Wharton. Be prepared to show yourself as an applicant, as someone who has led, who can take advantage of what Wharton offers in this area. And here's, I'm going to issue one of my warnings. There's a big difference between mouthing platitudes, spitting back websites, and actually showing that you share the values. The former, well, frankly, it's just gift wrap, the mouthing platitudes and the spitting back website. And it really hides what's inside. But not only that it hides what's inside, what happens to gift wrap when you take it off the package, the gift? What happens to it? What happens to it in the question window? It gets thrown out. It ends up in the trash. You don't want your application to essentially be thrown out or rejected. So spamming them with phrases from their website or mantra-like repetition of the cluster system and innovation, that simply won't do it. But examples in your essays, bullet points in your resume, your letters of recommendation, responses to interview questions, both the team-based discussion, which we'll get to later, and your individual interview, all those in total show that you both have what Wharton is looking for and can benefit from what Wharton offers. And that you share with Wharton a belief in what's important. To me, I've said this before, and I'll probably say it again in the course of this webinar, Wharton is about breadth of experience and has been for as long as I can remember. Yes, blue chip experience is valued, but blue chip experience combined with small business and entrepreneurship, that's gold. Multiple languages, working in different parts of the world, making the time for professional and personal commitments, all those demonstrations of breadth enhance your attractiveness at Wharton. And of course, rigorous database analysis. Now, your letters of recommendation and your responses to interview questions must also demonstrate these qualities. And I'd like you at this point in time, not in the question window, this is for you. You can use your worksheet or just a blank piece of paper to write down for yourself some of the qualities that I've been discussing, whether it's community or leadership or global or data analysis, an analytical approach to data, and some examples of when you demonstrated those qualities. Okay, this is for you. I really want you to walk out of here thinking that not only thinking, but knowing that you have made progress on your application. So when have you demonstrated some of these qualities? So you don't have to spit back the phrases at all. You have to peel the onion a little bit and go a little bit deep into yourself to show that you can show fit with what Wharton values. Another warning. If you focus on rankings or brand, you'll end up obscuring this fit aspect of admissions, as well as contributing to your focusing on the wrong things, because you'll be making the same mistake that a lot of people make. And the result will be that you blend in. You want to stand out in a positive way. You want to show you have the distinctive experience and perspective to contribute. So focusing on the rankings is not going to help you get in. Focusing on what you've done, what you want to do, and how Wharton is going to help you do it with a specificity and concreteness, that's going to help you get in. Let's remember that Wharton has lots of applicants, and even though its acceptance rate is a little bit higher than some of its competition, at current application volume, it still rejects slightly more than 4 out of every 5 applicants. And that leads to my last strategic point, the fourth part of the 4-part framework. You need to demonstrate that you will be able to contribute to your learning team and the greater Wharton community, and ultimately make the school proud that they admitted you. For the admissions committee, a key question is, what can you add to the Wharton community? You want to reveal a habit of impact through your essay, your resume, activity history, interview, and letters of recommendation. So I'd like you to tell me now, where have you made, okay, can you raise your hand if you hear me? It came back? Okay. Rachel's telling me that the audio was out and it came back, but I think I'm going to plow ahead. All right. I'd like you to right now give me some examples of when you demonstrated impact. Okay? Where have you made a difference? Because that's what the admissions committee is going to want to know. Okay? Where have you made an impact? Where have you made a difference? And this would be in the question window, this is not for yourself. I'll comment on it. I'll comment on the examples you gave. College community workplace. Okay, can you be a little more specific, Adam? Thank you for responding, but I'd like to get a little more specific. Where did you make a difference? What kind of difference did you make? How's that? Is that a better question? Taught in Indian slum for 6 years. Very good. So did your students pursue their education further than other students did, or they would have without you? How many of your students graduated high school or elementary school or whatever the measure would have been? Led a company of 20 out of bankruptcy through its restructuring. Very good. Is it profitable now? Have you turned it now into a profitable entity? In college, I had been leading in a student-run charity club. We helped numerous students who were in poverty continue their education. Very good. I'd like to know how many students, how much money did you raise? Are they now prosperous professionals? Okay, leading off a new community service initiative to mentor kids in homeless shelters. Okay, that's much better, Adam. Thank you. I would encourage you to talk about how many kids. Are they staying in school? I realize that for homeless kids, it can be extremely difficult to stay in school. Are you allowing them to advance in their education? Again, how many children? Almost 60% have graduated high school years. That's fantastic. Created a dashboard at work that contains data that hadn't been tracked before to drive behavioral changes and increase visibility of activity. Will, that's good, but I'd also like to know, did that increase sales? Did it increase customer satisfaction? Did it decrease costs? Again, we're talking about impact, results. That's what you did. That's good. But what was the difference that you made? Are you hearing that what I'm driving at here? It's very interesting. I'd like to hear a little more. All right. So that is when we talk about impact. I'm talking about results and outcomes. But I also want to touch for a minute on work experience. Now, many of you will say, well, I have the right amount of work experience, 5 years, it's perfect. But you can see that there actually is a pretty big range. 0 to 15 years of work experience are people in the student body at Wharton. And what I want to say here is that the quality of work experience will be far more important than the quantity. So what is qualitatively competitive work experience? Work experience where you show leadership, contribution, initiative, and the innovation that Wharton values, or at least some of those qualities. And above average progression on the job. That's what Wharton is really looking for. That's the substance of showing you can contribute, having those experiences. But there's also the matter of effectively conveying that substance. So I'd like to do a little thought experiment here that will show you how to effectively convey your distinctive experiences. Okay, so here's a poll. And on this poll, you can choose more than one option. Okay? If you want, you don't have to. The options are that you, since college, have worked in finance or consulting, have traveled outside your home country, and have volunteered in college or since. Again, the options are that you work in finance or consulting, have traveled outside your home country, and have volunteered in college or since. So which of these describe you? Okay, we have 70% having voted. Anybody else want to vote? It's getting up there. Okay, good. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, with 74% having voted. Here are the results. 76% of you have worked in finance or consulting. 82% have traveled outside your home country, and 94% have volunteered in college or since. Okay, that's fine. That's actually very close to this morning's group. And then the second set of questions. How many of you, in this case, you may not be able to vote for any of them, but vote for the ones that are appropriate. Work for a money management firm providing IT support. Consulted for pharmaceutical firms seeking entry into new South American markets. And shadowed a special needs child at your place of worship. Okay, again, the options are: how many of you work for a money management firm providing IT support? Have consulted for pharmaceutical companies exploring entry to new markets in South America? And the third one is: have shadowed a special needs child at your place of worship. Okay, well, there's something wrong with GoToWebinar right now, because it says it's collecting responses and 24% of you have voted, but it's not showing those responses. So, you know what, I'm going to try up. No, I think it's starting to show them. So let me see what happens if I close the poll and share the results and see if I get some better. No, still not really working. All right, in that case, we'll do hand raising. All right, because the poll isn't working. So, just one second. Same options. How many of you work for a money management firm providing IT support? Okay, apparently none of you. Okay, that's fine. How many of you have consulted for pharmaceutical companies exploring entry to new markets in South America? Raise your hand. That would be click on the hand icon. Okay, 1. All right, which is 4%. And then the last one is: how many of you have shadowed a special needs child at your place of worship? On that one, we had 14% in the poll, so I'm going to assume that that's correct. Okay? So, what is the difference between the two sets of questions that I posed? In the question window, please. Oh, you can see the poll results. Oh, great. Okay. But what is the difference between the two sets of questions? Detail, very good, Afan. The second one is more specific and shows distinctive diversity. The first lining was more broad. The listing probably was more broad. But I think Munkali got it. The second set can show impact. That wasn't really my intention. I think Munkali got it. The second one is more specific and shows distinctive diversity. So it's distinctions. If you are specific, if you talk with specifics and detail and examples, you're more concrete. Yes, you can, Tiboho, show impact much more effectively. And you become distinctive. You become individuals because specifics differentiate. Specifics differentiate. So, are you going to be an engineer when you describe what you do, or are you a transportation engineer, or perhaps a materials engineer, or something along those lines? Are you a consultant or a healthcare consultant? Did you volunteer, or did you found a new organization to address a specific need in your community? However you define your community, and we're all members of multiple communities. Now, why is distinctive contribution so important? Let me hide the poll right now. Because admissions decisions consist of is a two-step process. First, the admissions committee goes in and determines who is qualified. At a school like Wharton, there are always too many qualified applicants. And Wharton itself says, in any given year, approximately 3/4 of candidates are admissible based on academic factors alone. But wait a minute, if 3/4 are admissible and they only admit 19%, what happens to the rest? They get rejected. How does Wharton distinguish between the admissible and not admitted and the admitted? Well, they are looking to craft a class. And that is a very different process, determining which candidates to admit among those evaluated as highly qualified. And whom do they admit? Those people who will thrive and add, those who will give as they take, those who will benefit themselves and the community as a whole. What's the implication of this second part of the admissions process for you as a candidate? There's no reason to admit someone without something distinctive to contribute. There's no benefit to Wharton in accepting applicants who lack a history of leadership and growth in multiple arenas, who don't have a record of past impact and contribution. In other words, you need to show those things. Now let's review, before we go into the details, some details about specific parts of the application, let's review the 4-part framework. You want to provide evidence that you can do the work, your realistic goal requiring an MBA from Wharton, and also show that you know how you intend to use it. You want to reveal that you share Wharton's values and meet its criteria, and you want to demonstrate that you'll be able to contribute to your team, your cohort, Wharton's community, and ultimately make the school proud. Now let's look at the specific elements of the Wharton application. I already touched briefly on the grades and transcripts. Let's look at other elements. First, the job and activity history. Wharton wants a 1-page resume in PDF format. For Wharton, in job history, it's pretty much the facts and nothing but the facts. There's little room to elaborate on motivations, lessons learned, or significant experiences. So you must make the most of that 1-page resume to show impact and contribution. The activity history should show that you belong at an institution that is proud of its participatory culture. Now, even in this little bit that one more thing about the resume. When you're writing your bullet points out, don't provide merely descriptions of responsibility. Focus on achievements, because Wharton is interested in demonstrated leadership and management skills and your potential for growth. So that's what you're going to want to highlight. Your technical wizardry with a whole bunch of 3-letter acronyms is not what they're looking for. Again, it's demonstrated leadership and management skills and your potential for growth. Quantify impact whenever possible. I was trying to encourage you to do that in a little exercise we did a few minutes ago. And then Wharton also asks, how many employees do you supervise? And gives you 400 characters, which is roughly 80 words to say. So you could just say 5, or you could say a 5-member cross-functional international team with 4 remote workers or everybody working remotely or whatever it is. That already implies a certain challenge and complexity to the leadership challenge that you faced. So you don't have a lot of room, and you have to keep it focused on the question, but there still is some room there for you to expand your answer and magnify your role. You also have 400 characters to discuss your reasons for leaving a particular position. The best reason is promotion, more responsibility, more challenge, personal growth. Expand on that in this box. Now let's go on to the essays. Essay 1 and essay 2 are both required, the optional, and then there's an optional essay. The essay should complement other elements of the application, answer the question posed, and reveal something distinctive and interesting about you. They are great places to show fit. They're great places to reveal some of the qualities that Wharton values, and also to show professional and the professional and communal elements that the admissions committee is looking for. The first question: what do you hope to gain professionally from the Wharton MBA? Now, this is a broader goals question. It's not just about your first MBA job, but it's a little bit more about greater aims. You can include that first MBA job for sure, but then it's more than that. How can Wharton help you? Think about its career strengths, its curriculum, classes, professors, programs that support your goals, extracurricular activities that, again, will help you realize your dreams, clubs, events, treks. Throw out anything that is extraneous and doesn't relate to these points. You have only 500 words. You have to be really focused and provide the best information. Essay 2. Describe an impactful experience or accomplishment that is not reflected elsewhere in your application. How will you use what you learned through that experience to contribute to the Wharton community? Again, where have you contributed in the past, and how will you contribute to the Wharton community? I think this essay very much reflects the importance of community to Wharton. Now, this question, what would you like to contribute or create? What impact would you like to have? Well, first, in order to answer the question on the screen or the questions I just posed, you have to know what's at Wharton. You have to really go through the website. And then try to connect with current students or recent alumni. Would you start a new initiative, grow something that has stagnated, or perhaps is at Wharton on its website only and not on the campus? How has something that you have done in the past shown that you have the ability to do what you intend to do at Wharton? Because that's really what you're going to want to write about here. Possible structure for this essay: start with the influential experience from the past, tell its story, highlight your impact, and then discuss how the lessons learned from that event will help enable you to contribute at Wharton and achieve what you hope to achieve. Another approach, this is a different approach, start with the way you intend to contribute and perhaps draw a picture in words of what success would look like for you. Then bring the essay back to the experience that prepared you to contribute in this way. Then there's the optional. For first-time applicants, it really is optional, and it's there for you to address extenuating circumstances. For reapplicants, you are required to complete the optional, and for you, the question is: explain how you have reflected on the previous decision about your application and discuss any updates to your candidacy. In other words, changes in your professional life, additional coursework, extracurricular, or volunteer engagements. Wharton emphasizes that it is truly optional for the first-time applicant, and you can use it to provide context for a bad semester or other negative or questionable element in your application, perhaps a non-traditional choice of recommenders. You may also use the optional to discuss challenges overcome that didn't zap your GPA. But what it shouldn't be, under any circumstances, is a waste of the reader's time. Don't use it to repeat information found elsewhere. And for reapplicants, they're asking the key question is basically, how have you improved your candidacy? What did you reflect on, and then what did you change? In order to respond to these questions, do your homework about Wharton. This is for all 3 of the essay questions. Each one requires an answer that is specific to the Wharton program. Again, read the brochures, comb the website, and speak to current students and recent alumni. Let's go on to recommenders. Now, Wharton has wants you 2 recommendations from 2 people who have supervised you closely and know you well. And they prefer that both be from supervisors, current or former. Wharton last year changed pretty dramatically what it is requesting of recommenders, but it is clear that it wants an example in response to each of the 2 open-ended questions. The recommendation, by the way, consists of a list and 2 open-ended questions. At AGAC, the Admissions Committee emphasized that recommendation or evaluation is really not the right way to think about Wharton's letter of inappropriate named rec. It's really looking for perspective and insight into the applicant from someone who knows you well and professionally. Now let's go on to the interview. Wharton has both a short individual interview and the famed team-based discussion. The individual interview is brief. It's a personal conversation. It's not intimidating. It's usually conducted after the TBD or team-based discussion, and they may ask you for feedback on your TBD. Prepare questions to ask during your individual interview. Now, the team-based discussion is a group interview, a mini-team project to come up with a proposal for a specific idea. Quote, as a team, you will work together to achieve a tangible outcome. The TBD is about helping your group provide a successful response to the prompt. It's about your group's success. Now, we host mock TBDs, and actually Natalie Greenblatt Epstein is here. She's going to be participating in the Q&A, and she runs most of our TBDs, our mock TBDs. I've sat in on several, and I can tell you that the most effective participants encouraged others, contributed when they had something constructive to say, listened well, acknowledged others' point of view and contributions, respectfully disputed when necessary with facts. They were the opposite of air hogs or show-offs, because they understood that it's all about the team's success. Their success is all about the team. It's not about the individual strutting his or her stuff. All right, let's go back to your goal on submitting an application to Wharton. Show that you belong at Wharton. And we're going to have that little contest now that I promised you. Winners will receive a copy of MBA Admissions for Smarties. That's the book I co-authored. If you're in the United States, you have a choice of paperback or Kindle. If you're outside the United States, it's Kindle only. So the question is, are you ready? The question is, what is the first goal you must achieve to show you belong at Wharton? What is the first part of the framework? Yeah. 3 winners. We're going to have 3 winners here. Okay, Nick, academics, academic excellence, demonstrate you can handle the academics. Munkali, you got it. Okay? So Nick, Ayush, and Munkali. Now, I'm going to have another question. Again, the first 3 to get it are going to win. But if you already won, please don't answer. Okay? The next question is, what is the second item to check off your to-do list to show you belong at Wharton Business School? What is the second item to check off your to-do list to show you belong at Wharton Business School? Okay. Afan got it. I'm sorry again if I mispronounced names. All right. We have a little latency here. Or else you guys are tired. All right. Let's move on. Again, I'll review the 4 parts of the framework. You want to present the academic credentials that show you can do the work and excel. You want to have a realistic goal, as Afan said, requiring an MBA from Wharton. You want to show that you meet Wharton's criteria and share its values. And you want to demonstrate that you'll be able to contribute distinctively to class discussions and teamwork, the school's community, and ultimately make the school proud. Final caveat, okay? I'm good. Thank you, Afan. The admissions committee readers are sharp, intelligent professionals. Don't try to trick, fake, or fool. The best presentation of you is an authentic reflection of your achievements and dreams, keeping in mind the 4 things that will make Wharton want you. Realize that a successful Wharton MBA application requires all 4 elements of this 4-part framework, not just 1, not just 3 out of 4, because to get accepted at Wharton, you need to show that you both belong there, that's parts 1 through 3 of the framework, and stand out in the applicant pool. That's part 4. The framework gives you the what of a successful application. Now you need to apply what you've learned to your individual circumstances. That's the how. And no book, webinar, or download can provide the how because they are general and for the many. But an experienced MBA admissions consultant can help you with implementing this framework and guide you so that you present all 4 elements. We want to guide you in showing that you both belong at Wharton or whatever MBA program you're applying to and stand out in the applicant pool. We want to guide you in creating an application that as a whole spotlights your strengths and mitigates your weaknesses. An application that accomplishes everything we've discussed here today. Here's what you can do when you use Accepted. You access expertise and experience, you reduce your stress, you save time, you optimize your application. Now, some may say Accepted is expensive, and we're definitely not a cheap service because of the quality of our staff. And again, you're going to meet one in just a second. However, there are also expensive risks associated with not using Accepted. Reapplication can easily cost a couple $1,000s. One additional year of pre-MBA earnings can cost in the 5 figures in dollars. One additional year of a job you dislike, if that's your situation. And then there's a potential that you could have gotten into a better program with lifelong higher earnings and network, and that could cost you potentially 5 or 6 figures. Every year, we work with applicants who talked to us a year earlier and decided after taking the do-it-yourself approach and getting rejected to work with us. They would have been better off working with us initially, and so would you. But enough from me. What do Accepted's clients say? I'm going to summarize. Over the last week, I found out that I got into Stanford and Wharton offered me a grant. Needless to say, I am very happy. One last thought I had regarding the Wharton grant. Your help went beyond helping me obtain admission to actually increasing my chances, I believe, of getting offered a merit-based fellowship. Talk about unexpected ROI. Or the one on the right. I want to share the good news that I got accepted to Wharton and I was offered a significant scholarship. I didn't even want to apply to Wharton out of fear of rejection, but thanks to you, I submitted my application, interviewed, and got a scholarship. I'll be forever grateful for your assistance through this process. This applicant was also accepted later to MIT Sloan. Now, she had initially thought that she had to apply outside the top 20 because of a certain lack of pedigree in her undergrad institution. And then the third one is from somebody from a very overrepresented group in the applicant pool who had good stats, but again, very common group. I am really happy. I would like to thank Jennifer once again for her wonderful guidance, without which this acceptance to Wharton and Booth would not have been possible. Different people, different challenges, different fears, same result at Wharton. Now, I can't say that all our clients who apply to Wharton are accepted, but we'd sure like you to use the same expert, insightful, individual advising that we use with these clients to help you get the same results that they got, acceptance to Wharton. Here's what I'd like you to do after the Q&A. Visit accepted.com/MBA package, choose the service that's right for you, get the guidance you need, and apply confidently and effectively. It's now August. There's still time before Wharton's Round 1, September 18th deadline to work with us. Contact us ASAP, and we'd be happy to help you from scratch or review and edit the essays that you write on your own. Our goal is to guide you so that you present all 4 parts of this critical framework and show that you both belong at Wharton and are a standout in the applicant pool. Take these steps to work with an accepted MBA admissions expert. I also want to remind you of the offer I mentioned at the very beginning. $200 off 1 or more MBA application packages, coupon code Wharton, and this ends next week, August 28th. Now for the Q&A, and I also want to introduce, without any further delay, Natalie Greenblatt-Epstein, who is a senior consultant. She's been with Accepted for several years now. I think we're at 10 years now, right, Natalie?
10 years.
Yeah, wow. And prior to, sorry?
I said a big celebration.
Yeah, right. 10 years now. And prior to that, she was admissions director at Cornell Johnson, Michigan Ross, and at University of Arizona, right? Or was it Arizona Cary, right?
Yeah, Arizona State.
Arizona State, right. Okay. So now we can take your questions. Let's see what we have here. And you can post questions. Anybody have a question? Here we go. What should an international candidate do to increase, I guess, to improve their candidacy? Natalie, do you have any thoughts on that one?
I think it depends on the country you're from.
True.
So there's some international candidates that are in overrepresented groups, as Linda showed you with Jennifer's client. Mm-hmm. And there are some that are underrepresented who, both sets of candidates still need to show that they stand out and they fit in, as Linda, I'm sure, had told you about during the session. But did you talk about that?
I sure did.
Okay.
You know me too well.
I love to quote you. It's perfect. You need to stand out and fit in. And so, like any candidate, you need to do that. I think I need to know a few more specifics before I can say how you specifically would stand out. And I think it's really about you and less about your country.
Right. Yeah, the only thing I would add is if English is not your native language, then you need to show, then I think English fluency becomes really important if you are from abroad. Okay, let's see. Will asks, is 750 the 80th percentile? I don't have the stats in front of me, but I almost I'm certain that it is. It's probably higher than 80th percentile, actually. It's an excellent score. And Natalie, I don't think there's much more to say about that, but it's
yeah, excellent. Absolutely. Good score.
Yeah, congratulations. Okay. Often asked, what are your thoughts on a two-page resumes? I have 6+ years of work experience, extracurriculars, and previous graduate degree. Is tough to fit into one page.
You want me to take that?
Yes. Yes, I've been doing it all the time.
I think you can get it in on one page. And I will tell you this. I have 35 years of experience, and I have a one-page resume. So you need to be choosy about the information that you're going to convey. Don't think of your resume as a bucket for all of your accomplishments. Think about it as your key marketing piece. And if the AdCom is only going to give you, say, 30 or 60 is kind of generous, 60 seconds to review the resume, what are the key factors that you want them to know about you? And I know Linda talked about impact. That's absolutely key to the resume. But you need to pick and choose. What are the most impactful accomplishments that you've had? You don't have to laundry list everything.
Right. And again, as I said during the presentation, you want to focus very much on times when you went above and beyond your responsibilities, your impact, not just descriptions of your responsibilities. Okay. Here's a question from Taboho. Is it advisable to start with a GMAT and get a good score before submitting my application? Yes, absolutely. Every year we have people who come to us and they think they're going to do great on the GMAT and they're going to apply to this top program and that top program, and you know what? They don't get it. And now if they applied, they really don't have much of a chance. It's definitely focus on the GMAT, get the best score you can get, and then choose schools that are appropriate given your qualifications and goals. It has to be both. Do you have anything to add for that one, Natalie?
No, okay. No, I totally agree with that.
Okay.
And GMAT or GRE, because most schools are taking both now.
Yeah. And actually, I don't know if you saw, but Wharton actually posted its GRE scores for admitted students for the entering class.
Yeah.
All right. Is it okay, this is from Adam, is it okay if an example for my story for an essay 2 is also a bullet point on the resume? They asked for something not reflected elsewhere, but not sure how strictly that should be interpreted. Natalie, do you want to take that?
Yeah, I would strictly interpret it. I mean, I'm sure you have more than one thing that you can talk about, and maybe you take it off of the resume for Wharton specifically and elaborate on it in the application. Um, I, I, you know, the rule number one is answer the question that's asked, and they're asking a question with some very specific parameters around it. So I take it seriously and very literally.
Okay. Okay. And then Ayush asks, I'm not sure what you're actually, Ayush, as I'm looking at this, I'm not sure what you're asking, so I'm not going to pose the question right now. Let's see. Does completing the CPA training count as work experience? I don't think taking CPA courses counts as work experience. If you're actually doing auditing and getting paid for it, that counts as work experience. Would you
Yeah, I
agree?
think they're talking about practical training
Yeah.
for the CPA, and that similar kinds of experiences for architects, and that does count as work experience.
Okay, great. Ayush, do you want to clarify what you were asking here, and I'll go back to that question? And DeBoho asks, does the scholarship depend on what score you get? Do you want to answer that, or you want me to?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I would say, you know, here's how scholarships work. Um, Scholarships, well, I mean, there are need-based scholarships, and there are um, um,
Merit.
scholarships based on your, yeah, merit-based scholarships based on your credentials. And, each school differs in how much they allot for merit and need. So that distinction is really important and is completely irrelevant in terms of a score. The merit-based scholarships are there to woo candidates that they've already admitted that they really want to get away from a competitor school. So there's a bit of a game that's played there, and for most scholarships, it's not just based on one item. It is based on the entire package. Now, there might be named scholarships where there's, again, sort of parameters around that scholarship, like you have to live in a particular country, or you have to live in a particular city, and you have to have a job in that particular field. That usually doesn't happen until you've already accepted the offer for the scholarship, and then they rename the scholarship later. Initially, you'll get, a generic scholarship, and then it's renamed later. But score alone does not ever determine scholarship.
Okay. Ayush asks, I'm doing chartered accountancy in India. It's equivalent to the CPA in the US. Will it be beneficial?
Yes.
Yes. Will it for sure get you in? No. Is it beneficial? Yes. But I think it's going to be more about what you do with your CPA and accomplish once you get the certification that's going to determine whether you're accepted or not, as well as the other factors that we discussed throughout the webinar. Okay?
Linda, can I go
Yeah,
back to the earlier question about the CPA? Because
sure.
there's something you didn't mention in this.
Okay.
And that is, there are some schools that are very specific about the number of months post obtaining your degree, okay, or
Mm-hmm.
post graduation. And so even for people that are non-traditional candidates, who may have had 3-4 years of work experience prior to going back to college, they don't want those months counted into that calculation. So that would be a time where I would use the optional essay to explain what you did in the CPA training, or in the architecture training. But some schools don't ask that question that specifically. And in that case, they will look at that work experience and count it towards your 3 to 5 years or whatever we're counting at.
Okay. Um, What are the chances, this is going to be the last question, what are the chances of getting a scholarship at Wharton in round 2 as compared to the great and famous round 1? This is from Munkuli. And I think round 1 and round 2, you're going to see fairly little difference in terms of the scholarships, acceptance rate. It's round 3 that you see a big drop off. Natalie, what would you say about that?
You're absolutely correct. I mean, most schools admit most of their candidates, like 90% of their candidates in round 1 and round 2, and they're still trying to woo away from their competitor schools. So they use scholarship to do that, or to help someone meet their need. So it makes no difference between round 1 and round 2 unless the school is very specific in saying you must apply by this deadline or by this date in order to be considered for scholarship. An example is Columbia.
Right.
Columbia doesn't really have a round 1, round 2.
They have rolling admissions.
Right. And so, but they do have a specific date for you to be considered for scholarship, and that is sometime in January.
Okay, great.
Not pertinent to Wharton, though.
Right. We've run over a bit, so I'm going to, first of all, thank Natalie for sharing her expertise with us this evening. I want to thank all the attendees for coming and sharing their time, attention, questions, answers, and I want to share one final thought and story before we say good evening. Good night. The thought: there is a paradox inherent to acceptance at top business schools. You have to demonstrate that you both fit in and stand out. Natalie, you were waiting for that.
I was. Love it.
By fitting in, I mean that you belong at your target school, in this case Wharton, in terms of your goals, academics, work experience, and values. Standing out, you need to stand out in a highly qualified, intensely competitive, and talented applicant pool. You need to show that you are going to contribute distinctively, add a special something to the school's community, and make the admissions committee members proud they voted to admit you. One more story and one more challenge. This client had good stats and work experience, but he came from a highly overrepresented group and tended to write in cliched, general, and vague terms. He worked with Dr. Philippe Barr, accepted consultant, and here's his feedback, which I've condensed a bit. I wanted to offer some thoughts on working with Philippe Barr through the whole process. In summary, Philippe helped me with 3 out of 4 of my essays and a quick resume scan. I applied to Stanford, Harvard, Wharton, and MIT Sloan, and was accepted to 3 waitlisted at Stanford. I'd highly recommend Philippe across the board. He was very kind and personable, but, as I had hoped, he provided very direct and honest feedback. It was exactly what I needed, and it helped me trust his comments and really reassess my approach when I needed to. When I disagreed with his comments, we discussed, so I felt respected as a partner, and we always were very efficient. Lastly, turnaround and response time was incredible. If you want a reliable guide on this journey, who will kindly give you honest, trustworthy feedback and help you get into your dream schools, follow the steps on the screen, which are the steps taken by all the clients you've heard from. They sought acceptance help and are now pursuing their dreams. Follow their example. Take the steps on the screen as they did to pursue yours too.